Friday Eve. Thanks for spending your Thursday evening with us here on UpNorthLive Unscripted. Cody Bear in for Melissa today. Now, Joe, earlier in the day we kind of looked at the weather cams, and a couple of them had some snow, some overcast. Cadillac was one pointedly that had some blue skies and some sunshine. So it depends on where you're at.
Yeah, it really did. And where it was snowing, it's really coming down tonight, Cody. But we should have seen that winding down. And here's kind of what you were talking about. Take a look at the Mackinac Bridge right now, Petoskey. Snowy conditions, and then, Cadillac, a little bit of a pink sky. I know we're past sunset now in that area. And then Houghton Lake had some sunshine as well for a little while earlier. Here's our satellite picture, and the reason we have snow, there's a warm front pushing in. We'll feel that tomorrow. It's going to be noticeably warmer, but ahead of that is this round of snow. And it's coming down at a pretty good rate here from near Traverse City. The heaviest snow right now, right there in Antrim, northern Antrim, Charlevoix, parts of Emmett and Sheboygan counties, working into the Gaylord area this evening. But again, I think a lot of this will be over with by the time we head toward midnight. All right, let's take a look at temperatures. The forecast, there's right now 20s. But take a look at tomorrow. Still chilly, but look at tomorrow afternoon. A lot of melting expected. Tomorrow will be the warmest day of the week, but it's not going to last long. Colder weather for the weekend. More on that a little later.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer delivering her final State of the State address last night, which was met with mixed reception. Whitmer says she has big plans before she's done serving in Michigan's highest position. Our Remington Hernandez sat down one-on-one with the governor. That's in tonight's Covering the Capitol report.
Wednesday, the governor boiled her vision for 2026 down to 3 policy areas: literacy, housing, and healthcare affordability.
Why did you decide to choose those as your 3 big policy areas this year?
I wanted to focus on items that I think are doable.
The governor, mindful of the lines in the legislature and impending election, says her priorities are bipartisan.
These are the fundamentals for everyone. They are the linchpins to our economy.
With a divided government, there is a lot of work to do to deliver on Whitmer's goals, but she's optimistic.
If I was a sitting legislator, I would definitely want to see forward action on all of these so that I could go home when I campaign and say, look what we were able to get done.
All of her proposals are likely to be negotiated during budget talks.
But already, House Republicans are opposed to her plans for some new taxes, using rainy day fund dollars, and property tax relief for only seniors.
Are you ready to negotiate? What do you have to say to those non-starters, according to the Republicans?
I'm always ready to negotiate.
Whitmer says she's waiting to see what House Republicans propose, but note they are only one of 3 legs in the process, and she's confident in her proposal.
It works. It doesn't mean to sacrifice or shortchange the next governor. It is a good solution that also gives tax relief.
Senate Minority Leader Eric Nesbitt, in the Republican response to Whitmer's State of the State, took aim at her literacy goals, saying it's about time she acted.
A staggering majority of our students can't read at grade level. 3/4 of 8th graders have fallen behind in math, and Michigan schools rank near the bottom nationally, and that's wrong.
The governor says such opposition is expected from Republicans, noting Nesbitt is running for governor.
What do you have to say to that so far, at least on literacy, your policies have failed in his eyes?
I would observe when it comes to literacy, the whole nation has a problem. What we have done, though, is adopt science of reading standards now.
Whitmer says the problems with reading have persisted for years across administrations. But now that there is a plan, she wants Michigan to stick to it.
We need to continue to support our teachers with additional training and our students with more tutoring and wraparound services.
Whitmer is employing lawmakers to send her a budget by June 30th, seeking to avoid a repeat of last year. At the Capitol in Lansing, I'm Remington Hernandez reporting.
A Leelanau County educator took the trip to Lansing last night for Governor Whitmer's State of the State address. Suttons Bay Public Schools Indigenous Education Director Samantha Tukrow was invited as a guest by State Representative Betsy Kofia. Tukrow works to break education barriers for Native American students throughout Leelanau County. She says she was pleased to see Governor Whitmer emphasize the need to improve literacy in the state, something multiple Northern Michigan lawmakers say they agree with.
Emphasizing the need of literature for culturally based and relevance for a lot of Native American students is important, and my job is to help bring that to our community. Well, when she speaks specifically on the importance and brings education to pretty much the front line of her speech tonight, it really rings loud for a lot of our Native communities, especially in Suttons Bay, where we see a lot of our students struggle.
Tukrow was named Michigan Lottery's Educator of the Year in 2024. And that brings us to our question of the day today. Did you watch the State of the Union, which was Tuesday night, or the State of the State last night? There's a few different answers, whether you say you watch one of them, both of them, neither of them. You can scan that QR code on your screen right now to go vote and make your voice heard. We'll take a look at the results later on in the show. The International Affairs Forum today hosted its 13th annual academic quiz bowl competition at Northwestern Michigan College. 21 teams from schools across northern Michigan competed for this year's title. Academic World Quest tests players' knowledge of current international politics, geography, global economics, and more. The host of today's quiz bowl was our own Mark Shillette. He's going to join us now to talk a little bit about the man who was largely responsible for establishing the competition. Mark, this was the first Quiz Bowl without Jack Siegel, who passed away 3 weeks ago. We're going to talk about his love for the Quiz Bowl, but first, can you just tell us a little bit about who Jack was and the remarkable life he lived?
Actually, I can't, Cody. It's that hard to try to sum up what Jack Siegel did in his 80 years of life. He did everything. He was a diplomat. That's the easiest way to say it. He worked in the White House. He ran a consulate, set up a consulate with Karen, his wife, in the middle of Russia, where there wasn't one before that, a U.S. consulate in the middle of Russia. He was a political advisor to NATO commanders. He did everything that you could possibly imagine in life. He was a marathon runner. He overcame tuberculosis. He was a decorated Vietnam veteran. Just a remarkable life for, as he often referred to himself, a kid from North Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, you talked to his wife, Karen. How did she describe Jack?
It's funny when you talk to Karen or you talk to Jack, and I remember 13 years ago when we hosted the first Quiz Bowl together, and you talked to Jack for very long. He knew more than you, but he never made you feel like he knew more than you. But just in conversations, the experiences that he would reference in his past, and he didn't do it in a braggy way, and Karen that never did it in a braggy way, but you're just like, whoa, these people have done things and seen the world in a way that none of us have. Karen described his accomplishments, but also he was a father that liked to build snowmen with his kids when he was little. And he was always curious and he had a kind heart. He was a very smart man, but a kind heart. And I don't think he had this gift, and Karen described it, of meeting people and liking them. And that sounds like that sounds like something we could all use a little bit more of these days, just meeting strangers and liking them, finding something that he liked about them. He was an empathetic person. He respected strangers. He respected enemies, if you will. But foes of the country, he still respected them. He was really a remarkable person. His resume was impressive, but he was a more remarkable person than a resume.
Yeah, and you hosted today's Quiz Bowl. Can you tell us just a little bit about how Jack felt about the Quiz Bowl?
Well, absolutely. Jack knew all kinds of things about foreign policy that he had forgotten more about foreign policy than probably most of us would ever know. But so when he had an opportunity, and we launched this 13 years ago, I was just the MC. They launched it. But when we did this 13 years ago, and he saw these groups of high school students, these teams come in and take part and take interest in something that was of big interest to him, he enjoyed that immensely. It's 100 questions, 10 different topics, and they are hard. They are hard questions. So when Jack would sit there and see these young people come in and know their stuff, I think he liked that. It was something that he had an interest in. And then when he saw the next generation coming in and taking interest in how the world works, Jack always enjoyed that day immensely, to see this kind of passing of the torch to the next generation and to see how good these young people, they would be good stewards of our world based on the knowledge and effort that they put into a day like today. I think that probably brought a lot of joy to Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, before we let you go, whether it's about, Jack or your conversation with Karen or the Quiz Bowl, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, if Karen gave a lot of good advice, and she said, life doesn't have to be in a straight line. And Jack believed that life can zigzag. Chase your dreams, chase your passion, chase the things that bring you that are interesting to you, and you'll live an interesting life. And perhaps that's Jack's legacy, that we should all spend quite a bit of time chasing what we enjoy and what interests us. And those will be the things that we're good at in life. Don't necessarily follow a predetermined path. Go towards what interests you.
Yeah, absolutely. Our Mark Gillette, thanks so much for joining us, spending some of your evening to talk about that. We're going to move to Osceola County now, where their EMS agency stepping in to help families create safer sleep environments for their babies. It's now Infant Safe Sleep Certified through the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The certification means every staff member is trained to spot unsafe sleep situations during calls. It also allows the agency to provide free resources like pack and plays, wearable blankets, and home safety checks. Officials say many families simply don't realize the risks tied to unsafe sleep practices. The goal is to prevent tragedies before they happen.
Know what financial barriers people may face when trying to get this type of stuff into their home. And so having these resources at our disposal at no cost to families is a huge, huge benefit. Not just for us that we're able to help those families, but for those families themselves, that now they have an avenue to access these resources.
EMS leaders stressed that the program is about guidance and support, not punishment for families in need. All right, that will do it for this portion of the show. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk to Joe Charleboy about that upcoming forecast. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
I'm Dee Dee Gatton with the National News Desk in Washington, D.C., and this is your news update.
We have a lot of questions, and the purpose of the whole investigation is to try to understand many things about Epstein. How did he accumulate so much wealth? How was he able to surround himself with some of the most powerful men in the world?
Hillary Clinton insists she had no idea about the criminal activities of the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and does not recall ever encountering him. She testified today before the House Oversight Committee. Bill Clinton will testify tomorrow. Neither is accused of wrongdoing related to Epstein. Chairman James Comer says the deposition transcripts and video will be released after a review. And Iran's foreign ministry says the third round of negotiations with the U.S. in Geneva about Iran's nuclear program led to very constructive proposals. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said a breakthrough was not likely to happen today, but that the talks were important to see how serious Iran is about making a deal to avoid potential U.S. military action. Plus, Vice President J.D. Vance visited Wisconsin today as the Trump administration works to keep the slim Republican House majority ahead of November's midterms. Vance toured a manufacturing facility in Plover to promote President Trump's economic message. Plover is in a Republican-held congressional district that Democrats are targeting. And that's your news update.
Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted, joined by Joe Charlevoix now. Joe, today, depending on where you were, but it seems like tomorrow into this weekend, we have quite the roller coaster temperatures.
If you like, melting and 40s, hey, tomorrow's your day.
All right.
If you like teens and, some lake effect snow, maybe on Saturday we can, get that for you. Let's start, though, a look at the Mackinac Bridge, where it's been snowing most of the afternoon and evening, and it still is. As we look at our Holiday and Express camera, although the visibility has improved, you can at least kind of see the towers now right there in the distance. You're looking north here from Mackinac City tonight, where we've had some snow. So there it is tonight. The bulk of the snow right now is where you see the darker shading of purple here, just getting into the Gaylord area. It's been snowing at a pretty good rate here over Charlevoix County over the last hour. Parts of Antrim County into Emmett and Sheboygan counties. This will continue to work across northern lower Michigan. Crossing I-75 there north of Gaylord between there and Mackinac City. It's going to be a bit of a snowy one for the next couple of hours. In the UP, that snow is starting to taper off. You can see that here. A little bit around St. Agnes, Mackinac Island, Cedarville, Hessel. That's about it. But there's that heavier snow around East Jordan currently. Gaylord, Ellsworth, Petoskey, Indian River, also seeing some of that snow. And then over into the Traverse City area near Frankfort, although that should start to taper off in those areas tonight. This is all just ahead of this little lobe or this warm front, which will bring a warmer day tomorrow. We're going to turn our wind out of the south. We're looking at 30s and 40s for one day because there's our area of low pressure. This cold front is going to pass tomorrow night. And after that arrives here, it'll work in quickly. We're going to see a round of wind tomorrow night, and then some colder temperatures will quickly race in here. We're going to go from the 40s down into the teens and single digits later Friday night into early on Saturday. There goes the snow. I think most of that over with by midnight tonight. Tomorrow, we could see a rain or snow shower in the UP and Straits. Not a big deal there. Again, some melting expected for our Friday. And then our cold front will pass through without any rain or snow. It's going to go through dry. But right there, you see where the wind turns direction? And then by the time we head into Saturday morning, the temperature will drop. Some lake effect snow here. And then this is a separate system passing mainly downstate, but the northern edge of the snow could possibly reach US 10 M55. Maybe Big Rapids, Ludington, for instance. Irons, that area. Could see a little snow. Still not sure on that. This may completely miss our area, but just something to be aware of, especially if you do have travel, say, Saturday downstate. And then Sunday, it looks partly cloudy. It's just going to be cold. Most spots Sunday in the teens. So let's go through the forecast on temperatures. There's tomorrow, 30s and 40s, the warm day. Look at the change on Saturday, teens and 20s. Same thing Sunday. And then we start gradually warming up again Monday. By Tuesday, we're back into the 30s next week and maybe some 40s next Wednesday. So quick drop over the weekend and then starting to warm back up again. Tonight, 16 to 28. Any snow north will start to end. A few breaks in the clouds. And then tomorrow, the warmest day of the week, as we mentioned, upper 30s and low 40s. A few rain and snow showers in the UP or Straits. Sheboygan, you're looking at a high of 43. As you head into Friday, same at Alpena. Traverse City, 45, 47 for Kalkaska. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. The wind out of the southwest during the day tomorrow. 51 at Clare. Big Rapids, 48. And then, you see the weekend there, Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures dropping. Sunshine, though, on Sunday, even though it'll be cold. And then we start warming back up again as we head toward the middle of next week.
Thank you, Joe. Coming up, Sports Director Harrison Beebe helps us get a closer look at this year's high school boys basketball postseason landscape. That's next in sports. Sports Director Harrison Beebe is out covering high school hockey playoffs tonight, but we do have a special high school basketball roundtable preview to bring you in this week's Jimmy John's Sports Corner. Harrison's guests include Drew Kahani of the Petoskey News Review and James Cook from the Traverse City Record Eagle. Take a listen.
The following segment is sponsored by Jimmy John's of Traverse City.
Start with you, Drew. Which district final is your favorite on the schedules for this Friday evening?
I'm going to go with the Ski Valley matchup. I think it was a pretty good season in the Ski Valley. We get a district title matchup between the two best teams, two 21-win teams, Mansalona and East Jordan.
All right, James, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Glen Lake against Elk Rapids. Glen Lake obviously has 6'6" center Jacob Clement in the middle, who's everybody's first concern when they play Glen Lake. Elk Rapids might come out with something a little bit different because Glen Lake has had a little bit of problems with teams that press
I'm going to go up north, Division 4. It's schools that don't get a lot of publicity, but definitely want to give them a shout out. Harbor Light Christian and Burt Lake NMC having 2 strong seasons. Only one of them can advance to the regional round. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, let's get to the nitty gritty. The Breslin Center is just a few short weeks away, and we didn't have anybody in this spot a year ago.
I'm going to go with the team that hasn't lost yet, and that's Traverse City Christian. I think they can keep it going through the districts here in the regionals and make a nice run.
Another Division 4 team, another 22-0 team, Pickford. Looking at their resume this year, they're so battle tested. Pretty ridiculous to, look at for a Division 4 team. If they do end up matching up against Traverse City Christian, that could be a heck of a game.
Quick shout outs to 3 teams that I think have a potential to do this in Division 1. Traverse City West has looked great on this run that the Titans have been on. And they're going to rematch with Rockford potentially down the stretch, but I think West has got a shot. Division 2, Ludington has got some real athletes. If you're going to buy stock into any team, pull off some upsets and show up at the Breslin. I've seen the Ludington Orioles play for a state championship at the Breslin Center. And you can't go with Division 3 without talking about the McBain Ramblers. I know they lost to Traverse City St. Francis in a 2-point game a week ago. I have a feeling Bruce Copeman's crew is still fuming about that one, and the victims of that just might be all of their opponents here in the postseason.
Thanks to Harrison for that report. Coming up, we will take a look at the live results for our question of the day. If you want to vote, if you're watching digitally, you'll be able to vote with the QR code on your screen in just a moment during the break, or you can go to our Up North Live Facebook page or our website, upnorthlive.com, to make your voice heard before we look at those results. We'll be right back.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to take one last look at our question of the day. It was, did you watch the State of the Union Tuesday night or the State of the State last night? Taking a look at those live results, more than half of folks said neither, 52%. 5% said both, while 35% of voters said State of the Union and 8% of voters said State of the State. Thanks so much for voting if you did. And as always, thanks for joining us for Up North Live Unscripted. You can join us later tonight for Up North Live News at 11.